Hi everyone, Cinemaster here with a review of the new Mirai Guardian and Guardian QI variants. The Guardian series are armored long-range heavy fighters in the sleek Mirai style, where the base Guardian is purely for combat, and the QI or Key variant, which stands for Quantum Interdictor, has a quantum dampening device. They look like the Mirai Fury but much larger. They are 16.5 meters wide, 25 meters long, and 9 meters high. Smaller than a Vanguard, and about the same size as an F8 Lightning. They can even fit in a Polaris or 890 jump hangar. The Guardian series is designed for a crew of one. It comes with living quarters for long-range use. The cockpit is in front of the ship with a circular windshield. With a bubble canopy, you would think it would have great viewing angles for the pilot, but unfortunately the MFDs up top and the long wings block some of the angles for viewing. You have excellent downwards and sideways views, but looking up is blocked by the two MFDs and buttons, while the corners are blocked by the wings. You can exit the cockpit two ways. If you look at the button on the seatbelt, you can choose which way to exit. You can choose to exit directly from the cockpit with the seat dropping straight down. The other option will rotate the seat 180 degrees and open an airlock door behind you to enter the rest of the ship. The section behind the cockpit is an airlock room to make sure the pilot entering a ship doesn't decompress the rest of the living quarters. Behind this area is the main living area. It has a bed on the starboard side. The bed has a small view screen to watch news or talk to people, which doesn't work yet though, as well as lighting controls for the rest of the ship. You can set the lights to red alert, normal, or darkened. The normal lighting is sort of dim, but it has red highlights from the flooring, which probably makes it easier to adjust your eyes to the dark outside if necessary. The bed itself also functions as an escape pod in emergencies. Under the bed is regular crew stowage of 650K micro SCU, enough for some gear and guns or food. On the other side of this room is a kitchen with a built-in coffee maker and other cooking components that don't work yet. Next to the kitchen is the small bathroom cubicle. It has a toilet, sink, and shower. It's cramped, and of course the bathroom components don't work yet, but it's comfortable enough. Moving rearward from here, you have an engineering room with a lot of component access panels. You can open them to access most of the ship components. There's also an engineering computer here that doesn't function yet. Finally, the rear room is another airlock. This room has some component access on each side, mostly for quantum engines and batteries. You also have a small gun locker for a few medium and small guns or utility devices. There is also a suit locker here to store armor in. You can press a button to drop the elevator here to exit the ship. It's a cramped elevator and not really any space for carrying boxes or hover bikes in, but you can possibly squeeze a small box or Mirai Pulse here with some fiddling. Outside the ship, if you go to the front, there are 4 large wings. The wings fold in a bit when the landing gear is extended, so the wings don't make the ship tilt backwards when landing. The landing gear is very short and stumpy, so be careful when landing on uneven terrain or on rocks. You could land at a funny angle and not be able to re-enter your ship. The lower front wings also have external storage, which is useful when exploring places on foot. On the port side wing, you have another gun locker for a few small guns, and then on the starboard wing, you have external gear stowage for 450K micro SCU. The Guardian series has one single medium shield, just like the RSI Scorpius or Anvil Hurricane heavy fighters. The difference is that the Guardian ships have very heavy hull strength and armor, similar to the Vanguard ships. They have more hull or armor than Vanguards, but less shielding. This also means they have more mass than other heavy fighters, aside from the Vanguard series, so keep that in mind. The Guardian variants both have decent quantum fuel tanks, same as the Vanguard series, so they can travel long distance, but their hydrogen fuel tanks are a bit small. This is an issue as they have large thrusters, so maneuvering in SCM will burn fuel quickly. Make sure to watch your fuel gauge in combat. The Guardian flies at 213 meters a second in SU and 1125 meters a second in nav mode. The QI is slightly slower at 210 meters a second in SU and 1100 meters a second in nav mode. The Guardian is also a little more maneuverable than the QI for turning and rotating. They both have numerous thrusters on the ships, including the large turning thrusters on the back, so they don't need separate VTOL thrusters. Just be careful with the thrusters though. They are large targets and weapons like missiles can damage them easily, making it very hard to turn the ship if they do get damaged. Both variants have 2 size 1 military grade C power plants and a size 2 cooler. I recommend upgrading the power plants as soon as you can to get a bit more power, especially for the QI. As heavy fighters, both variants have 2 size 5 weapon hardpoints, one on each side of the ship between the wings. The hardpoints have M7A laser cannons by default, but you can change them to other size 5 guns. The weapons do gimbal, but the wings block some vertical gimbaling of the guns. You can still gimbal the guns up and down a little, but not as much as you can gimbal them sideways. This means you'll have to pitch your ship up and down more to hit targets above or below you, rather than just gimbal the guns up and down. The base Guardian does have a slight higher default weapon energy capacitor level than the QI, but you can fix this by raising the energy weapon levels on the QI a notch or two. That's where having higher level power plants can help. The Guardian ships also have 4 size 4 missile hardpoints inside the wings. By default, the Guardian has 4 size 2 missiles for each hardpoint, while the QI has dual size 3 missiles, but thankfully you can change out the missile hardpoints on both versions. For each hardpoint, you can get either 8 size 1 missiles, 4 size 2 missiles, 2 size 3 missiles, or a single size 4 missile. So you could have a total of 32 size 1 missiles, or as little as 4 size 4 missiles, or anything in between. You can have different combinations of missile launchers to make the ship versatile against light or heavy ships. The QI variant also has a quantum enforcement device. In this case, it's just a quantum dampener. You can't pull ships out of quantum with it, nor disable them, but you can prevent them from jumping or even going to nav mode as long as they're within 4.5 kilometers away. Any ship that's faster than you in SCM speed can get away, but slower ships will have no chance to escape. To use it, you have to manually turn it on from the power setting MFD and then switch to the QED weapon group. Then you can just turn it on or off with the fire button. Since it's a single player ship, it means a bit more work for the pilot, but it is quite useful. The QED does use a bit of power, hence why the QI has slightly less weapon capacitance, but if you turn it off in the energy settings and bump up weapon energy, it'll function just like the base Guardian. The Guardian runs for $250 in stored credit and $230 war bond. The QI runs for $260 stored credit and $240 war bond. They are not available to buy or rent in-game yet, but I expect patch 4.1 or later should have them. The ships are flyable right now though. The Guardian comes with a white and black paint with red highlights. The QI is dark and light gray paint. There are also other paints you can get for them. There's the gray, gold, and black Sovereign paint, only for concierge members, as well as the red, white, and gray Red Skies paint, and the blue and tan Desert Dusk paint, available for all members. The Guardian series are great long-range heavy fighters for single players compared to other heavy fighters. It has the long range of the Vanguard series, but does not require an extra crew to run guns or engineering like the Vanguard, Scorpius, or Hurricane. There are also living quarters in the ship, plus lots of storage options, making them great for on-foot bounty hunting or exploration. They may not have the heaviest shields for a heavy fighter, but the armor and hull make up for that. They would be great for pyro with the long distances and solar storms with the larger fuel tanks and armor. There are only 2 guns, but size 5s can do a ton of damage to other ships. The default laser cannons are slow to fire, but they chew up smaller ships quickly, if you hit. I recommend turning on alternating fire if going against faster ships, or you can just change out the guns depending on your targets. For example, laser repeaters against light fighters, maybe ballistics for heavily armored ships, and so on. The wide variety of missile hardpoints also make the ship versatile for combat too. Oryx would do well using the Guardian for long-range patrols or long-range strikes. Pirates or law enforcement could use the QI variant in fleets to prevent targets from escaping in hard-to-reach spots, as compared to shorter-range quantum enforcement ships. Orgs could load up the ships with lots of size 1 missiles, which would make them great as missile boats or for gunship duty against ground targets. You can clear out landing zones well with these ships, especially if you put on repeaters. Single players can use either variant for both on-foot and in-space bounties. The QI in particular is good for catching bounties that try to escape. There's also just enough stowage space to use the ships for small exploration missions too, like the ones that have the micro-SU boxes to pick up. You could also use it to pick up stranded pilot from long-distance or dangerous missions. They can sit on the bed or the toilet while you fly them back, so transport beacons could be useful with the ship. Then there is also the aesthetics. These are some of the nicest looking heavy fighters in a while. Sure, you have sleeker ones like the Scorpius, or meaner looking ones like the F8 Lightning or Vanguard, but the Guardians have that Star Wars TIE Advance look to them. Just not as rough as typical Star Wars ships. Plus the design is very difficult for typical human-style ships, so it's a nice change. The paints are also amazing for these ships, so they help a lot to make them look exciting. There are some drawbacks to the ships, of course. As heavy fighters, they won't be as agile as light or medium fighters, and the QI is even slightly slower than the base variant. On top of that, you can't gimbal the guns up or down very much, so you are forced to turn the ship up and down if you are aiming at ships above or below, which is not great for a heavy fighter that's already slightly sluggish in turning. But the Guardian is as agile as other heavy fighters, so it's not a huge issue. There are also only 2 guns. If you lose one gun, you've lost half of your main weapons. If you have the slower default cannons and miss a shot without alternating fire, then you have to wait until you can fire again. Not horrible when fighting against slower ships, but against fighters that can be an issue. Other ships like the Vanguard, F8, Hurricane, or Scorpius with more guns can make up for missing a shot with simple rate of fire, but it can be disastrous for the Guardians with only 2 guns. The lack of any turrets on the ship means that the Guardians are also vulnerable to any ships that can get behind it, especially fighters. And with only a single size 2 shield, it means hull and armor damage can happen easily. You may want to group up with another wingman to help catch any pesky quick fighters so they don't sneak up behind you. There's also no official cargo space, so serious looting or cargo hauling is out of the question. But you can fit 1 or 2 SCU boxes manually in the component access room with a tractor beam. Hover bikes don't officially fit either, although you can fit the Mirai Pulse with some effort and a tractor beam, but your ship or the hover bike may take some damage when doing so. Just carry the bike with a tractor beam to the elevator in the back and rotate it upwards, then walk to the door up top until it opens. Then you can slide the bike into the room. Just keep in mind, getting the bike out is even harder. The small hydrogen fuel tank could also be an issue if you have to do a lot of maneuvering or dodging, so make sure you can get back to a place to refuel after combat. Restocking all the missiles can also cost quite a bit, so make sure you have the funds to afford the restock fees if you buy the ship. Finally, the short landing gear can be an issue in rocky terrain, so you have to be careful where you land. It could block the rear or front entrance if the ship is landed at an angle. Aside from those issues, these are very good ships for long-range combat. I highly recommend them. Either variant is good. They look good, they have nice living quarters, decent quantum fuel, and decent firepower. They are a bit pricey, but about average for heavy fighters these days. Alright, that's it for the Mirai Guardian series review. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and you can use my referral code if you decide to jump into Star Citizen, and you'll get 5,000 extra in-game credits. Here's a big thank you to my current patrons. Please check out my Patreon membership to help make more videos. All patrons and members will have their names listed at the end of my videos and get access to my Discord channel. Patrons and members also have first pick on the next item I'll cover, so feel free to sign up and let me know what you'd like to see next in my Discord channel. Okay, catch you all next time.